Hello everyone, my name is Jackie and today we're going to be talking about sentences. Now, before we go through the type of sentences that we're going to check today, I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page and we focus on what is a sentence, right? Well, a sentence is basically a group of words that's going to make a complete thought. Now, it has to have a subject, a verb, and a complement. Now, out of these sentences, we do have type of sentences that we're going to check right now. Now, here we have the first one that is declarative. Now, a declarative sentence basically makes a statement. What does this mean? That it usually ends with a period, most of the time basically, and it always has a subject, a verb, and any type of complement, right? It could continue with that. An example that we have right now, we could say, I go to the park. If you know, in this case, I is the subject, go would be the verb, and the park would be the complement. Now, another example that we could see here is, my cousin works part-time. Here we could also see the same pattern, right? That we're talking about a subject, the verb, works, and then part-time, that would be the complement. Now, the other type of sentences that we have is an imperative sentence. When do we use this? Basically to give commands or to make a request. Now, the particular thing with this is that it could either end with a period or an exclamation mark. Okay, so we would have to check in this case what type of imperative sentence we're making. Now, one curious thing about this sentence is that it always starts with a verb. Why? Because I'm giving a request. For example, close the door. In this case, I'm asking, right? I'm requesting to close the door. Notice that close would be the verb and the door would be, the complement, in this case, the subject. Then we have another example like open your books, right? In this case, we're starting, I'm not saying, she opens the book. No, I'm giving a request. So in this case would be open your books, right? So it's a request. Now, sometimes, as I said before, it could end, with a period or with an exclamation mark, but basically that depends on how you're expressing yourself. Let's say, for example, if it's starting to rain a lot and, the floor is getting wet inside the house, then I would say, close the door, right? So that would mean that it's an exclamation. Okay. Now, then we have another type of sentence that's an interrogative sentence. Now, an interrogative sentence is always ending with the question mark. Why? Because we're asking a question. That's why it's interrogative. Now, in this case, we have two types of interrogatives. That would be a yes or no question, or if not, it could be a WH word question. Now, remember that with the WH word questions, we have many. We have, for example, what, where, when, why, who, how many, how much, and much more. Why do you think that we're calling these WH words like this? Because if you notice, all of them start at the beginning with a WH, or in the middle of the sentence, for example, in the middle of the word, for example, it would have a WH, right? For example, how, it would be H, right? OW. Now, in this case, it starts with that, and then we go with our auxiliaries, right? That could be the verb to be, it could be do or does, did, etc. Now, here, one of the examples that we could have is, what do you eat? Okay, if you notice, we have our WH word, that would be what, our auxiliary, that is do, and then we would have the subject, in this case, you, and the verb eat with our question mark. Okay, that would be an example of a WH word question mark. But we also, as we had mentioned before, have a yes or no question. What does this mean? That we're not going to start with the WH word. We're actually going to start directly with the auxiliary words. In this case, I could say, do you eat sushi? If you notice here, we start with the auxiliary word do, always with our subject, you in this case, and our complement that would be sushi, that goes with eat, right? So in this case, my answer is not going to be, I eat, etc. It would actually be a yes or no short answer, right? So in this case, I could say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. Okay, so really it depends, right? Just focus that if you don't see a WH word, then it means that it's a yes or no question, okay? Now, our next one that we have is the exclamatory sentence. With these type of sentences, basically they show sudden and strong feelings, okay? So what does this mean? That it's always going to end in an exclamation point. Okay, basically when you see an exclamation point, we all know that it means that this person is feeling either, something that it could be like very strong, either happiness, anger, right? So, or sadness. Okay, so an example for this would be, what a beautiful sunrise, right? Remember that because it does have an exclamation mark, I cannot read it all boring. I cannot say, what a beautiful sunrise. No, right? The exclamation mark is basically, telling me to shout it out loud, right? Because it would be like with a lot of feelings. Okay, then just doing a review. What type of sentences do we have? Remember that there are 4. The first one would be declarative. The second would be interrogative. Then we have imperative, and then we have exclamatory. Remember that these sentences are very important because each and every one of them, they stand for something, okay? Meaning that one would be a question, one would be a normal statement, another one would be reflecting a strong feeling, and the last one basically would be requesting or making a command, okay? Good. Okay, another topic that we're going to see today is basically the sentences and parts of the sentences. Now we're going to focus on the subject because today we're going to see a compound subject. What does it mean? Remember that a subject is a person, right? So if I mean that it's compound, I'm talking about one, like 2 or more type of subjects in the sentence, right? Here we have the example. Here we have she. Let's put she as in Monica. Monica drinks water. Okay? And over here I have my other sentence where it says Diego drinks water. So if you notice, they both have the same verb, drink, right? And they have the same noun, that in this case would be the water. So the only thing that's changing is that one is Monica, the person, and the other person would be Diego. So in this case, I could convert it to a compound subject by putting the sentence like this. Monica and Diego drink water. If you notice, in this case, I used and between the 2 subjects. Now, one of the most common connectors that we're going to use for a compound subject is either and or. Now, what do these mean? And is basically an addition, meaning that this person plus this person, the other person, is going to do an action, right? So we're adding to them and making sure that both of them are going to do the same action in the sentence. But what does or mean? Or means that one or the other, right? Not both of them, is just one, okay, out of them 2. We have the example, Erica or Manuel will go to the concert. What does this mean? That both of them are not going, just one of them. It could either be Erica or Manuel. Okay, so that would basically be the difference between and or. Remember, and is adding, and or would just be one of them, one of the options that we have, in this case, the subject. Well, I really hope you did like this video and you were able to understand the examples that I gave you. Until next time, bye.